and I ended up getting sick. I had high blood pressure
Yeah.
because working so much and I'm putting this extra pressure on myself. God and my body was like, you need to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
You can still progress. You're doing great, but you don't have to put as much pressure on yourself. So that honestly, when I got sick was the first time and it was hard for me to do because I had practiced so long going so hard with pressure and letting pressure be that gasoline in my car, if you will. So it took a while for me to learn that I can work 5 hours out of the day and take a good hour break and not feel bad for that hour.
That's right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Everything's Okay, mental health podcast brought to you by the one and only Crazy Ant Media. We're super excited today because we're going to be talking about pressure and what that means in society and what that means, like your own self-pressure that you put on. Today we're super excited, though, because we have the one and only Charlie Hudson III.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. We had him on ITCAFpodcast, and this guy is such a gem. So I was just so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me back.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we knew we had to. Like Logan said, it was just a no-brainer that we had to have you on to talk about it. Because, you know, if you think back about the interview on ITCAF, we kind of talked about a little bit the pressures of what this industry can do and that we're in and all this. So this is going to be a good conversation.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I actually think you might have been one of the first people we started talking about mental health with.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so because it was right around your time. So I think you may have been the first person. All the fans go back and listen. Go back and see if he was the first one we started talking about pressure with. But of course, the obvious is the pressure of the entertainment industry and trying to, not compare yourself to others and to not, have that sense of I should be here at this age instead of, just enjoying the process. I think specifically for me that it hasn't been too bad. Sometimes I pressure myself to work too hard and that causes burnout. So that can definitely lead into, we talk about depression and things like that here too. So that can lead into depression and just feeling like I want to lock myself away in a room. But I feel like, you can't do that because when it comes to this industry, you need to be basically 100% all the time because it's a 24/7 gig.
Yes.
So to be able to, take the pressure as kind of like motivation in a sense to where when to do and when to don't. I think that's the most important thing, but that's kind of the pressure I deal with in what we do is trying to be like, okay, we have to get there as quick as possible when it's not necessarily always like that. You got to just do what you can to keep your mental health sane at the same time so you can be better for the next day.
Exactly. Sure. I totally agree with everything you just said. Talking about the industry specifically, you're right. We have the pressures we have our dream. And our dream is to have one audition, make it big, have every script in the world come in our direction, and we're doing all of them. We're filming all the time, on stage all the time. And even though that dream is possible, and we are striving to make that possible, the thing sometimes with the pressure is that I've found that helps me is remembering where I've come from along the way, because I feel like pressure comes in different waves.
Oh yeah.
It's really pressure. It's really a lot of pressure like before you get a role because you're working so hard with the audition, trying to make sure you get it right. Then you're waiting to hear back. Then once you get it, it's a slightly different pressure because now like, I want to make sure I do good. Those different pressures, I think teaches us a lot about ourselves because like you said, the one before, it teaches you that yes, this particular point in time, I might not be working, but it doesn't negate the fact that I'm not an artist. Me working on the auditions and preparing, that's still doing my art.
That's right.
Affecting my art. So if you think about it in those terms, which I try to do, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm, just saying what I try to do.
Exactly.
That kind of helps out a lot and alleviates some of that pressure.
Well, I like what you just said about looking back at how far you've come, because I think the pressure that I used to put myself under a lot was living under someone else's definition of success. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not a success because I haven't done this or I haven't done that. But who is anyone else to define your success? Or if you are a success, it should be you. Or do you define what is success for you? Because this is a long game industry. It's not, like you said, it does happen occasionally. Somebody will get that first one right out of the gate and become a big star, and great. But for most people in this industry, it's a long game. And if you can get into the habit of recognizing that instead of the habit of going, well, I didn't get a film here, and I'm not on a TV show here, I'm not a regular here, and I don't have $1,000 or $1 million here, and start putting that pressure on yourself that you're somehow a failure and not succeeding. I think that's a very dangerous game for the mental health, because allowing someone else to define what is or what is not success, that is all you. And I feel like to have a strong mental game in this industry, you have to realize your own self-worth and not have somebody put the pressure of someone else's self-worth on you, right?
Exactly. I totally agree. Because like you said, once we start comparing ourselves to each other, we lose track of what the actual goal is.
Right.
Now we're trying to do what someone else is doing, as opposed to let me focus on myself and move forward. And that takes so much more pressure off. And then, like you said, then we have the opportunity to actually sit back and know that the pressure that we're putting on ourselves, or the pressure of the industry itself, is kind of an illusion sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we know that we're still moving forward. Like I said, once you look back and see, like for me, my first performance might have been in a talent show. So looking from a talent show to where I am now, each time over the years, or over the months, days or hours, when that pressure or that voice in your head starts to creep in and says, oh, you should be here, or you should be doing this. I try to look back at those different things like, wow, I actually did a show at that particular time, or once I did this, or I graduated, or I did all those different stepping stones bring you to this point. So that helps a lot. It definitely helps a lot.
For sure. And I feel like a huge misconception is, once you get to whatever point you define as success, you think all of the other stuff will go away. And that's not how it goes at all. I was listening to another podcast by comedians. They just shoot the shit, talk back and forth, and they were talking about their scale and about before how they were, a husband and wife comedian couple. They were sharing one charger. Like, they would have to figure out who needed the charger more, and they were like, oh, once we get this certain amount of money, everything's going to be okay. But everything's financially okay, but your schedule it needs to be more precise, and you still have the mental health aspect in the sense of, are you happy with what you're doing, and all of these different things. So I think that is also very important when it comes to the pressure you put on yourself. That's why the buck starts and stops with you and how you approach every single day. I think that is so important, because there's not a level, to where you're like, okay, I'm good, everything's fine, I'm happy as can be, I can settle down, have a family. There's never a good time for any of it. But you just have to be happy in everyday life, and that's how you gain your freedom for yourself.
But what you just said, that's a really good point too, because I feel like with the husband and wife team there, or just any time where it's a team involved, right? There's a partnership, or when you just said, is there a right time or a wrong time time to start a family and stuff. That's an additional pressure added on, because then it becomes, you don't want to let them down.
Right.
Now it's not just, you're not letting yourself down if you don't feel like you're accomplishing, but it's like, I have to do this for them. And if I don't get this and I don't get this, I'm letting them down. I'm somehow failing my wife, or I'm failing my child, or I'm failing my partner. And that can be a whole different level of, pressure of putting onto your, again, self. These people, I'm sure, are not like, oh, you didn't do this or you did. But you put that pressure on yourself because now you have more responsibility and more people in your life that you feel like you have to live up to. And that's difficult, right?
It is. It totally is. Speaking of family, I'm extremely close with my family. I'm the youngest grandchild. My grandmother passed 2 years ago, but before she passed, just sporadically, she and I would talk on the phone at least every Saturday and Sunday. But throughout the week, we would like talk 4 or 5 minutes here and there. But Saturday and Sunday, we really had long conversations.
Yeah.
But I say maybe like 7 years before she passed, she just started out of the blue. We could be talking about anything, talking about basketball. And she's like, I'm ready for you to get married and have kids.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And the funniest one, I was backstage doing a show, and we were laughing about something. It was at intermission. We were laughing about something. I can't actually remember. But I was like, no, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to call my grandmother and put her on the phone so she could tell you. Call her, and she agreed with whatever we were talking about. And then she was like, are y'all helping him find somebody so he can get me some
my
grandkids?
goodness.
Okay, Grandma, I'm talking to you. But again, as cute and as funny as it is, that pressures, started to build and build and build, because of course I want my grandmother to, see her grandchild. Of course, now that particular aspect of it can't happen, but that pressure was there.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how she did it, though. She didn't beat me over the head with it. It was
right.
just, reminder here and there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's all about, like you said, how I take it.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, I could have let it like really trap me in this thing of like, okay, I have to find somebody. I have to.
Right.
And then end up in a relationship that's not right.
Exactly.
That wouldn't be even good for the kid. But hey, the kid is here, so my grandmother.
Exactly. It's all of these different aspects, because in that same regard, being a filmmaker and being an actor is a grind, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort out of you. So for me, my parents are in a whole different state. They're about 10 hours away, and trying to figure out when we're making business trips and when we're going anywhere, like trying to come down there and see them for holidays and stuff. So that becomes a pressure in the sense of, I talk to my mother frequently, and probably like once or twice a week for like good 30-minute conversations. And it's just like, I miss you. I would love to see you. And I'm like, I know, I get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where you're like, they're not trying to put that on you, but it's just like, they just want to remind you, hey, we're still here too. But again, it's all about how you react to things and how you tell your internal self, like, they're just telling you they miss your presence and they miss loving you and like all that stuff. They're not telling you to go down there right now. Like, she's not telling you to, hey, have a kid with a woman you barely know or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's different things. So it's very interesting how, like, one can unintentionally self-sabotage themselves with the pressure, right? I mean, what is that about? Because I feel like right now, in your case, your daughter is fully grown, can take care of herself, all of this stuff, but you still feel the pressure to try to do things to help take care of her.
I do. I mean, I feel like as a parent, that's always a thing, right? Like she's amazing and she's doing great and she's just killing it in the world. And yet, but as a father, you feel like if I don't provide some assistance, if I don't give some help, I'm letting her down. Like, no, that's what a parent does. You have to take care of your child. And, but I agree with you. I think that it is. I think the people that go really dark and really like are the people who do let it get to them. They don't realize that it was just in a joking manner, right? Like, hey, I really do want to see my grandchild, but I'm joking with you. I'm not like putting this on there. I think it's the people that take everything to heart, everything seriously. They start to go down that dark path of, well, my grandma died and I didn't have a kid. oh my gosh, now I let her down. And now you start to go down that depression hole where you feel like, well, if I didn't get that done, what else am I not going to get done? And then you really start to, who else am I letting down? Who else am I going to do? And that's the dangerous thing. I think that if you don't have a positive attitude and you don't have a self-awareness, that's when you get in trouble. And and you start to go down those dark holes of like letting the pressure get to you. And I did that for a while. After my brother died, we were so close. I just made okay, well, now I'm going to become everything that he expected me to become, because he's the first person to believe in me. He's the first person that didn't laugh when I said, I'm going to direct a film one day. I'm going to do this. And when he passed, it became so much pressure of, I have to do this now because he believed in me and I can't let him down now. I have to be this person that he always thought that I was or should be. And I went down a dark hole there for a little while about well, I'm not there yet. I'm not getting there. I'm letting him down. How can I, and I didn't always have a supportive family. And so I felt like, there was a lot of, well, he died. Maybe it should have been me instead of him because I'm not getting it done. I'm failing in what he could have had so much. And to put that kind of pressure on yourself and to start to go down that hole was a very dangerous game for me. And it did affect my family. It did affect my marriage. It did, because I was always striving to, I've got to do. And like what you were saying, sometimes you've just got to step back, go, I don't have to. I have to relax. I have to take a break. I can't work 24/7. I've got to do better. And I think to have people around you, and let's talk about this a little bit, because I think it is important for people to be around you that know the signs. He's going down there, right? And because so many times I feel like these tragedies with mental health happen when the signs are ignored or people are not seeing them, and we start to get in trouble, right?
Yeah. I 100% agree. 100% agree. I remember in undergrad, I had a sign on the ceiling above my bed and one above the TV that said, "You should be working." And every time I would sit down, I was like, "Oh yeah, I should be working. I would start doing something. And I was putting extra pressure on myself because at the time I literally had a 3.9 GPA.
Oh, wow.
But in my mind, I was like, I still have to be doing more. And I took that through grad school, all the way through my career, that same mentality. And I ended up getting sick. I had high blood pressure. Because working so much and I'm putting this extra pressure on myself, God and my body was like, you need to calm down. You can still progress. You're doing great, but you don't have to put as much pressure on yourself. So that, honestly, when I got sick was the first time and it was hard for me to do because I had practiced so long, going so hard with pressure, and letting pressure be that gasoline in my car, if you will. So it took a while for me to learn that I can work 5 hours out of the day and take a good hour break and not feel bad for that hour break.
That's right.
And then feel like, okay, I took an hour break. Well, shoot, now I have to do another 10 5 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're still moving forward. My dad always said, and he says it now, and it used to get on my nerves when we would do road trips, because he would always drive like right at the speed limit or just a little bit above. 5 miles above. I'm like, Dad, hurry up. He's like, as long as the wheels are spinning, we're going to get there.
That's
And that's the thing that I've had to learn as far as pressure is concerned. It's like, I don't have to press because it's going to happen. The wheels are still moving forward. As long as I'm moving forward, everything's going to happen. And you're absolutely right when it comes to having, one, recognizing for yourself when you have triggered yourself when it comes to different pressures, and having people around that you trust that can see it, not only see it, but also hear it sometimes, because a lot of my close friends don't actually live in town, live in the same city. And we have all, thank God, have been so in tune with each other that we could hear in each other's voice, like, hey, what's going on? As soon as we get on the phone, it's like, hey, how you doing? Like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Something isn't right.
That's right.
And sure enough, sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get some people to talk. But I feel like even just that question of, are you okay? Are you all right? Kind of helps. I guess it helps you remember that there is a pressure valve to relieve some of that pressure.
That's
just
right.
to talk to someone else, one of my and I'm going to say this without getting emotional, but my childhood friend, Stephen Boss, Twitch. And, we just lost him. I still haven't been able to read everything and look at everything.
Right.
Like we hung out every day in summer camp. We had our 16th birthday party together. We were texting back and forth maybe like a month or so before his passing. And that's one that I wish we would have, instead of just texting, I wish we would have called each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have changed anything, if I would have heard anything. Because that's the other thing, as artists, we all have very different schedules. So we don't really know what's going on in each other's lives. And like you were saying, for the most part, we have to be on all the time.
Yep.
So, the big smile and the, hey, how you doing? And everything can be masking a ton of pressure. But it is sometimes up to us as the individual. And I'm glad now mental health is becoming a broader aspect in just the zeitgeist of the world right now.
Most definitely. Because
now even our representatives can, you can actually say to them, hey, these are too many auditions right now. Give me some time, or, and it not be a bad thing. But yeah, that's the thing. Knowing that the pressure valve is there, that you have people that you can rely on to help. Sometimes just talking about stuff helps alleviate it.
Oh, most definitely. And I mean, you brought up masking, and a lot of people do put on masks because especially us as entertainers, it's so easy for us because acting and, creating stories and all of these different things, that's second nature. That's like the back of our hand. So being able to, see through that, see through the forest to see the trees is so very important. I have two instances myself. One of my best friends, he was going to be a groomsman in my wedding. He just recently died over the same thing, and not being able, we were different states away, so it's always hard to try to keep that relationship going and to keep that contact. And I actually just saw him because we went to a mutual friend's wedding probably about 2 months prior to his passing, and it honestly was the best night of my life because he got to meet my fiance. They had never met before, and I hadn't seen anybody, him specifically, in like 4 years, like face to face. Like we would FaceTime and stuff, but it's never the same as like getting in the room and being with each other and like talking about stories that only him and I know about. That's something so special. And I've had to deal with a little bit of, being worried about my family as well, because all of my siblings, they suffer from anxiety and depression as well, trauma, and my mother as well. There was actually, and my mother almost, she attempted to take her own life when I was in high school. And that was a lot of pressure on me because that was the point where I felt like, one, that morning, her and I got into an argument. And so I put a lot of that pressure on myself, like, it was my fault. I caused her to be in this place. And, I just feel like that can weigh the other person down, and that can honestly weigh anybody who is around the situation down. So I feel like it's very important to just check in on everybody just whenever you get a chance, even if you don't necessarily see any signs or if they're not showing any signs, because like we talked about, people wear masks and they're very good at it. So just to be able to stay in constant communication with everyone, I feel like is very important, specifically for me because I'm a little antisocial. So I'm trying to do better this year about just, fucking reaching out and being that, that correspondence where, hey, are you okay? Type of situation.
A couple of different things there because, because of the masks and everything, and going back to what you said, Charlie, about even if it's just, hey, how you doing? I think that sometimes people just want to know they're seen, right? Mm-hmm. Like that is enough. Just the, hey, how you doing says, oh, they see me. I'm here. They know, and that's more apt to help them open up if they are having problems, if they are masking it, if they know that they're seen. But the other side of that too that you were talking about is I don't think enough people correlate the mental with the physical. Like you were talking about with yourself, where you were putting so much pressure on yourself and so much on this that you started to get sick, because mental health is directly related to physical health as well. And a lot of times you can put yourself into real trouble physically by the stress and the pressure that you're putting yourself through mentally. And if someone's not there, like you said, to turn off the pressure valve and say, hey, you gotta let that go, then that can start to be a real problem. So sometimes it is, and like you just said, Logan, even if it's just to say hi, even if there's no signs and you think everything is great, just say hi anyway. How you doing today? Mental health check. What you doing? Because that might be the one thing that saves that person, that says, somebody finally sees me. They asked me if I'm okay. Because I feel like a lot of times, I mean, I've been in this situation. I know you guys have probably been in this situation where you feel like you don't want to be a bother to them. You don't want them getting mad at you because you keep asking them, are you okay? But I feel like if you know, because like you said, Charlie, when you hear it, you can tell, right? So if you know, keep asking. Who cares if you're bothering them? Keep asking, because the second you stop asking is the second it's too late, right? I would rather them hate me for constantly bothering them to them instead of them not being here where I didn't ask and I didn't bother them, right? So I feel like sometimes feeling like you're a burden to somebody or being a problem to somebody gets in the way of recognizing that, right? And then it can lead to the pressure that you were talking about, pressure and guilt, where if something happens and then you put that on yourself that you did this or you didn't do this and that's why this happened. And that's another whole form of pressure and guilt that we can't deal with. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like you were saying, just being seen is something I started doing. I guess it might have been, I put it into my daily routine, actually in grad school. Facebook started to remind you when your friends had a birthday.
Yeah.
I just put it in my morning routine. Every day I would say happy birthday to every single person, just because I was like, everyone needs to have at least one person tell them happy birthday.
Yes.
Every particular day. And like we were saying, we don't know what goes on in each person's individual life. But if I could just say happy birthday to one person, if that's the one that they got that day, they at least know that somebody's thinking of them,
And you know what's really special about that? I posted a happy birthday to my mom, actually, and you commented on it, happy birthday, and I screenshot it and messaged her. Because we were watching RCAV 81 together, and I was just like, look who said happy birthday to you. That's like full circle right there. That's so funny.
That's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah.
Sometimes birthdays are the day that's the worst for people. I'm old, or I'm this, or I'm that, and they're feeling like at their worst possible point.
Yes.
So to get a happy birthday and say, hey, we appreciate you, we love you, that might be the one thing that changes the whole scope of the day for them. Because I know a lot of people, when you start getting up there, you start dreading birthdays, right?
Yeah.
So to have that person just say, hey, I appreciate you, I love you, happy birthday, that's a great thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because you start putting checklists on each birthday. Like I remember when I was in grad school, or just finished grad school, some of my high school friends and classmates and stuff, they were getting married, just bought a house, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing vocal warm-ups and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I said, thank goodness, looking back at what I knew I wanted for my life, my dream, and looking, every step by step, that was honestly the one reason why I didn't break down. I was like, oh my God, they're doing all this other stuff, and they have a family, they have a white picket fence, and I'm saying tongue twisters to make sure I'm up for this show that I'm about to do right now, you know?
Yep.
It's such an interesting too, because that's a different aspect as well. Like the pressure I feel like that we put on ourselves as men, in the sense of, you know, we need to be a provider. We need to take care of everybody. You know, if you're not in a relationship or starting a family, we need to take care of our mom. We need to take care of our dad. It's just crazy because like once we get to a certain point, we have to step back and realize, you know, that's their life, you know. We can be here with the positive vibes, the prayers, but we can't involve ourselves in that unless they ask, you know. And even in some instances, you have to be strong enough to say, I can't do that because I'm focusing on myself right now. So it's all of those different things. I think that's very important. And another reason why we wanted to, you know, start this podcast specifically is because not enough men talk about mental health and the pressure that it puts on them, because you've always heard man up, bottle it up, don't talk to anybody about it. So it's always something that's very important. And especially it's very important to take that pressure off of not wanting to fix something for people or not wanting to take care of people. So it's a whole thing, man. It's so wild.
And all of that is what led to like we were saying earlier about getting sick. You know, I want to make sure that not only I was still doing good in my academics, but my extracurricular stuff, the theater, the marching band, mentoring, and then just the overall, I want to make sure my family is proud of everything that I'm doing, and that I'm able to show up for them whenever they have something going on. And that pressure just builds and builds and builds, and you have to have a release. Like one thing, and it's funny, once we messaged back and forth about it, I sat and thought maybe like 15 minutes right after our first initial message about this was like, what was something that I used to do that I haven't been doing lately, especially because of the quarantine?
Yeah.
That was like a pressure valve release, and it was going bowling. For me, just the sound of the balls rolling throughout the thing, and the repetition of trying to get the same movement over and over again was so relaxing. And I was like, I have to go bowling. I have to go bowling again.
Yeah.
Because I missed that feeling of, no matter how anxious I was or stressed out about whatever before, like walking into the bowling alley, walking out of it, I always felt 100 times better. So that's another thing I always try to do, is think of different things that helps alleviate some of that pressure, some of that stress. I know when it comes to auditions, one of the things that I always would do, as soon as the audition was done, it's a little different now, but I still do it now. When we would actually go into the room, as soon as I'm done, as soon as I walk out of the room, thank you, and close the door, I immediately rip up the paper and throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
That's relief right there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And it's like, get that off. And then I would try to either go watch a movie if I had something to take my mind completely off of it. Now I still do the same thing. Once I'm done with the self-tape, I see which take I want to do. Cool, I put a star by it, rip it up and throw it in the trash. Then I, send it in. But finding different little things that brings you joy, because I think pressure, if pressure is taken the wrong way, it sucks the joy out of whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
Because like you were saying, you were still accomplishing a lot of things, but you were doing it in a dark manner, or it was taking you in a dark way.
Right.
Still finding that joy within it is the good thing.
I love that. And I love the bowling story, because that plays into self-care is extremely important. And you need to know what makes you happy and not lose sight of that. For you, it was bowling. For me, it's drawing. I like to sketch and draw.
I like to do that as well.
Yeah, and so and I got out of it for years. Just for whatever reason, I had lost that, and it used to bring me so much joy to be able to just sit down and go, "Hey, I'm going to draw my favorite character. Or I'm going to draw this or that." And for whatever reason, I just lost that. And recently, during COVID, like like yourself. I picked up the sketch pad for the first time in ever and drew something, and I'm like, wait, hey, I remember I really like this. It's a good escape, right? It's just me and the pencil and the pad, and I'm not worried about anything around me. I'm just in a happy place, and I'm doing it, and I feel creative. And with that, it inspires me creatively in other areas to do other things, right? But without that, if you don't look inward and go, okay, what makes me happy? Let me get back to that. Then it starts to get dark and ugly. So yeah, I've been and this we'll talk about pressure. I set myself a goal of, okay, I'm going to draw a picture every week for the whole year. So 52 pictures. And now I'm behind. And I'm like, shit, I'm behind. I'm not doing 52 pictures. But I quickly kicked that. I said, you know what? Just draw when you're feeling it.
Exactly.
You don't need 52 pictures. Don't make this a bad thing. Keep it a good thing. So,
keep it a good
but I love that. Knowing what makes you happy. For you, it's like Frisbee golf or like going out and doing stuff, right?
It's very different because, I do love disc golf. That's such a good way to get out into nature and just like be with some buddies, do whatever you're doing. But another one is actually video games, specifically adventure video games that tell a story throughout, kind of like, Red Dead Redemption or The Last of Us. That's so good that gets turned into a TV show. But I think it's the act of, you're actually maneuvering through a world that's not yours. So that just completely distracts me from what's going on in my life. All I'm worried about is this character and what's going on in their life. It's very, very, very therapeutic in a sense to just take me out of my body a little bit and just go into an alternate reality, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Video games are the same for me as well. But for some reason, honestly, I think it was the quarantine. Because I moved away from trying to play video games so much until I tried to start back drawing. And then I got on this whole baking thing where I started making blueberry muffins.
There we go.
But same video. Red Dead Redemption was one for me, and college football once they got
yeah.
But they're bringing it back, which I'm glad about.
That's right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Isn't it so like difficult to just have so many different, I guess, passions, you could say, like in the sense of, either cooking or drawing or video games, or I'm trying to get into art right now. And in the sense of trying to figure out different styles of art and which one I like the best and going through everything, it's like, man, I don't have time for all of this stuff. And so the pressure of, trying to do all of these things, but it's like, you can do them at your leisurely pace in a sense. You don't necessarily have to learn all of these different pillars of art like right now. You can, just look at it whenever I can and, go with the flow in that sense. So I think it's been very fun though.
Yeah. That's one reason why I haven't joined a bowling league.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun to me. And I'm like, I know as soon as I make it, well, it's competitive when I like have my friends or something.
Yeah. Right.
But that's not really competitive. But if I get in the league and we're on a team, no.
That's different. Yeah.
Competitive, and then it's going to take the fun out of it,
Yeah. And that the fun, the escape, that's the valve. Right. And you don't, and you don't want to get rid of that. So, that's important though, because that's another thing we were talking about with the warning signs or paying attention. If you know something is a big thing in someone's life and all of a sudden you see they're not doing it, right? Like they're not so often going there. Why? Right? Like it could be something easy. It could be like, oh no, I've got this scheduling conflict and I'm doing this and this, but I can't get to it or whatever. But it could be other things. Why did they stop doing something that they enjoy so much doing, right? And it could be a progressive thing. Just little tiny things like that if you pay attention to and just ask a question. Hey man, you haven't drawn in a while. Why not? What's going on there? Or even seeing the physical aspect of it, right? If someone's starting to get sick, they're not as motivated, they're not as upbeat, the energy's not there or whatever, that could be more mental, right? You don't know. You just assume, oh, he must get a cold or something. But what if it is the mental aspect bringing them down, causing that depression, causing the anxiety and not wanting to get out and do things and stuff? It's just little things like that, I feel like, with the mental health game that so many people miss and don't pay attention to. It's like, so I always try to stress to everybody now, especially, is like, if you notice anything off, ask. Right? That's the first way to the first thing is ask. You know, you're normally so upbeat and happy. Why are you so sad today? Or why are you not talking today? Or whatever the case may be, you know, ask a question. It doesn't mean you're bothering them. It doesn't mean you're intruding in their lives. Just ask a question, man. I mean, you know.
Yeah, even in the sense of bringing back up my social anxiety where I really don't want to go out and see anybody. After I get there and the conversation starts flowing, I'm like, why was I feeling like that? I'm all good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I put the pressure on myself like, oh, you got to go out and you got to do things and blah, blah, blah. But then when I get there, I'm like, why did I do that? Well, I mean, I don't understand. This is a good memory that I'm making now, especially, you know, in a sense to where like we're going to be moving areas, we're going to be relocating, and, you know, this may be one of the last times we hang out. So, I mean, it's so important to, you know, just not, I feel like overthinking is such a big thing. So not overthink.
That's literally what I was about to say. I was like, our mind starts making up all these stories.
Yes.
And our mind, oh man, it can go without us even trying. And like you said, it's like, oh, if I go out, oh, I might stay out too late.
Right. Like all of these excuses.
Yeah. And every excuse sounds good.
It does. It sounds so good.
Yeah.
Oh man, it is so true. So true.
Well, and then you know, a good aspect, I think a lot of things that lead to that social anxiety or things like that is the societal pressure, right? We've been talking about the self pressure and putting it on yourself and you know, going inward and doing that to yourself. But society puts that pressure on you, right? Because, you know, how many times do we hear, you know, if you're not married by this age, what's going on? Why aren't you dating anybody? Why are you not going and hanging out with friends? Why are you, there's all this, you should do this by this, and you should be this by this, and you bam, 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 bam. And that, so society intentionally or unintentionally puts that pressure on you and that you feel like you have to live up. And then that starts creeping in your head and talk about the mind just racing like, wait a minute, is that right? Should I be this or that? Should I be? And it's not even intentional. You just start doing it because that's what society has said you should be doing or not doing.
Yeah.
That in itself is dangerous, right? Like listening to what you should or shouldn't do.
Yeah. I saw this one thing. One, social media can add pressure to you, like you're saying. For
sure.
I saw this one thing, and I know it was meant to be like a helper, but it was like we talked to 20 millionaires, and these are the things that they do every day that helps people along. And it's like, oh, well, I should be doing this.
Right.
And then that's another thing of pressure because that might have worked for them.
That's
because
right.
They might have a completely different field at a completely different time of their life. So like you said, those social pressures get added on us, and we have to understand that everything doesn't happen in the same vein for everybody.
Exactly.
But yeah, you're right. So social media is a thing that is a blessing and a curse.
Oh yeah.
And I have to check myself sometimes, like, okay, I have to sit this thing down.
Right.
You get happy for people and their success and stuff. And then when I post stuff, you're like, oh yeah, great. You get happy. But then sometimes one thing I've had to wrestle with, and I still do, is feeling like I might be bragging because it might pressure on someone else.
Right.
And it's like, no, I just want to express, I'm excited and happy that I've been blessed with this opportunity to be on this show or be in this play. So I'll post something up, and then I'll remember, oh man, a friend of mine didn't get an audition or doesn't have an agent, or so our mind, once again, playing different tricks on us and stuff, is like, oh, now I have pressure on myself about whether I should post something.
Exactly.
Oh, I should be posting something. Oh, I don't have as many likes, or it just can snowball so much until you literally have to sift through all of that and once again know what your particular goal is and
That's
what
right.
you want to do and how you define success in every different thing, like success on my social media. It evolves.
Exactly. Isn't it so weird too? Because it is very much a double-edged sword, because you basically become a brand. You have to brand yourself and put yourself out there and try to promote yourself with social media. But then you go back to when you're a kid and like specifically with playing sports and stuff. Oh, well, you don't want to show off. You don't want to make anybody else feel bad. So it's like, it's this thing to where you're like, but I just want to do good for me. I'm just trying to show the world what I'm doing. I'm not trying to make anybody else feel bad. But you get that pressure where you're just like, man, I feel like, you know, I can't necessarily promote myself without making them feel bad, but it's not one or the other. It's just it's all reactionary, like we've been talking about.
Yeah. And pride becomes shame.
Yeah.
Instead of being proud of something that you've accomplished, you're ashamed of it because you don't want to have somebody else feel bad. Participation trophies. Now everybody's got to feel good. You can't just be a winner. Everybody's got to win. I'm like, wait a minute. No. Like, you know, but you know, the scary side of social media is I feel like because like you said, we tend to have that we always is positive, right? Everything we post is positive. Social media is in a sense a mask, right? Like it's all positive. My life is so great. Let me show you every good thing that's happening to me. But we never post about the bad days.
Yeah,
we never post about, you know, so that in itself is a mask, which can potentially be dangerous, especially if we go full circle in the conversation. Back to the comparison, right? If we're comparing our life to that person's social media page, well, shit, we're doing really fucking bad. But is that life real? That's just their good stuff. That doesn't mean there's not bad shit happening there too. That's that mask of ask me how my day was. Because, yeah, I had this awesome audition, but I also had this shit happen to me today, right? That's where you've got to get past that mask and ask, right? Like, because social media, boy, everybody's living the life.
Oh my goodness! One of my friends and I, it was during the quarantine. We were sitting here and we were looking at someone's page, and we both kind of looked at each other like, "Are they even going through the quarantine?"
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh yeah, these are highlights.
That's right.
Everything of their life, not the ups and downs and stuff. And that is so true, man. I have one friend in particular. I'm not going to get into any details, but yeah, going on that particular person's page, you would think that they are the czar of the world, you know. But yeah, you know, they're going through different things, and we talk constantly, trying to be there for each other and stuff. But yeah, social media can definitely be a downer, and it's bad when you are already in a kind of a anxious or pressurized place already, and then you want to go on social media. No, stay away.
Oh my gosh, so right. If you're already anxious and suffer from anxiety, the second you don't get enough likes, you're just it's a downward spiral. Like, oh my God. Yeah, come on. We should not base life on likes, right? Like, oh my gosh, man. But so many people do, though. It's terrifying, and that's that pressure again to live up to. Well, Sally got 85 likes, and I only got 4. Like, oh shit, what do I need to do different? I'm like, nothing.
I think that's the important thing. Like we've kind of been talking about, having that, you know, either that outside presence or yourself recognizing, okay, this is when I need to take a break. Or from social media, from anything else. And I think that's very important. So just being able to recognize that and to try different things. You have to be able to try different things to see what works best for you. Because if you're only set on one path, one road, you don't necessarily know if that's the best road for you. Exactly. So it's all about just trying to figure everything out. But it's crazy, man. The world we live in, the stuff we put ourselves in, and I mean, it's beautiful but crazy at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what though? It's a good thing when we can have conversations with people like yourself.
Yes.
Right? Because getting it out there and understanding, like, we're all going through the same shit. Doesn't matter where we're at, who we are, what our life paths are. We're all going through it. And if we can have these conversations and have it, I mean, you know, this one's been up and down. We've been sad. By the way, thank you for sharing the story about Twitch, because that's a difficult situation, and to open up like that and feel and show that vulnerability and be able to trust us enough to have that conversation. Thank you. we really appreciate that a lot, and we're here for you on that as well, just to let you know. But like the conversation, just, you know, we're laughing and we're joking, you know, and talking but then we are going deep, and it's these type conversations that I feel are so necessary to let people know everything's okay. We're all going through it. You are not alone. And so we greatly appreciate yourself and people like you to come on and have these conversations with us.
Yeah, that's the big thing. That's why we started it, just to let people know, hey, like, you know, you're not alone in these type of situations. It's not going to be your exact path, but you might have somebody that came on that talked about something that was similar, and we were just like, you know, talking about experiences help bring light to things and help people see that, you know, they're okay. They can get through it. Maybe I can as well. And we're not trying to change the world, change everybody, mass audiences. As long as we can help somebody, one person at a time, that's really what we're striving to do.
Yes. I love that. And thank you all for having me, man. I love this conversation. And like you said, conversations like this helps. It helps a lot. It not only helps the person that is going through something, but it just helps us individually know that anytime something is going on, we can talk to somebody, we can reach out.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Have safe spells of, you know, doodling or bowling or
exactly
video game.
Him and I talk about it all the time. Like after we do one of these episodes, we're like, man, that was a good therapy session.
Yeah,
like,
no,
shit, like,
totally.
Just to like get that out there. Good. That's what it's all about. I think it's very important. But man, again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences, your story. I mean, you are always one of our favorites. So, I mean, like I said, I just knew I had to reach out to you and make this happen because I knew it would be a good conversation that could help pass along that stuff for the next person. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me. Anytime, man. Anytime.
Well, and hey, truly, anytime, pick up that phone. You need anything, you just let us know, and we are there, my man.
Hey, same here.
Thank you. Well, listen, take care, and we will talk to you soon, my man.
Amen. Same to you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Man, just another good conversation. I love the people we've been fortunate enough to interact with in the entertainment industry and to further become friends, because there's so many people like that now where you just realize they're just human beings. They got their own stuff going on, and to be able to share stories like that, because like we said in the interview, it is a safe space and we feel comfortable enough with each other to share this stuff. So it was a beautiful conversation.
It really was. And I like the point that you just made, because on our other podcast, ITCAFpodcast, you know, we interview and it's all about, celebrity guests and all this kind of, but it's important to remember that we're all just people.
Yes.
And they're just people. And we're all going through the same stuff, ups and downs, goods and bads. We're all going through it. So to have somebody come on and talk like that and feel safe and feel like they can open up, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
I agree. Thank you so much, Charlie Hudson, for coming back on the show. Everybody be sure to follow the social media accounts. Everything's OKP for OK Podcast. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Of course, follow all of the other accounts. You can find them basically anywhere and everywhere. Crazy Ant Media. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And remember, everything's okay.